don't consider myself a record collector. I just buy music, and I guess what got me into music was, like most people, my parents' record collection. My dad was a teenager in the 50s, and he liked more soulful singers, Sam Cooke, Benton, that type of thing. And so, like anybody, you play your parents' record collection. Me, I played some of those records to death. The Bo Weevil song by Brooke Benton was probably one of the first songs I can remember learning all the words to as a kid, and I remember taking it to a small school disco at about 7 or something like that and probably Sam Cooke and some other stuff like that. So that got me really into soul, and I was lucky that I had an older brother. He was very independent and walked his own path in life musically, and so he would buy some great music, as well as some cool music that wasn't rare or anything. He had a good Beatles collection and things like that, so I played those to death. And he got me into Dylan and things like that, and singer-songwriters, and that pushed, that combined with soul was really where I was as a kid and when I first started buying music. And I remember watching the Blues Brothers strangely as a kid, and even though not for any of the cliched stuff or even the more like the good artists that were in it, like James Brown and Ray Charles, I knew those guys. But when they put a tape in just before they have a chase, they put in a Sam and Dave tape, and I heard Soothe Me for the first time at about 12 years old, and I was blown away. So I went out and bought all the there was in the 80s there was these Atlantic soul albums that were black covers with the artists made up out of triangle shapes, so pastel coloured triangle shapes, and it was like Sam and Dave, Booker T, that type of thing. And I bought every one in that collection, and that was probably my first record collection I was proud of. It was about that big. And so that's what got me into really starting music. So you really, like anybody, your parents and your brother. All my life, I guess, you've been collecting music, because as I say, I don't really consider myself a record collector. I consider myself a lover of music, and I'm not really trying to reach any goals with collecting. I'm not trying to get every album on one label or every album by one artist. I probably didn't have a really serious collection past a couple of hundred until about 15 years ago. I bulked up the collection when we started doing a lot more of the nights, and when we did the nights I needed more and more stuff to play. So yeah, I mean, seriously for 12 years, we'll say, so seriously for 12 years, I own about, I don't know, here I have about 1,200 to 1,500 albums, I guess, and a few hundred sevens. I don't have a lot of 12s anymore. I mean, I probably have a couple of boxes of 12s, but not as much anymore. I did have a lot of my dad's, but it was stuff that I would use to play out, and when we moved and we didn't have a lot of room, you take what you really listen to at home, and that's the important stuff. So, to me anyway. And so, yeah, I don't have enough room to get more than a few hundred more, so there's going to have to be a purge soon, and I don't know how I'll cope. I never want to be one of those guys that's got stuff in storage or, got stuff in the attic, because you'll never see the light of day again. My favourite pastime is digging through my own collection. I'm proud of every album I've got, and you buy these albums for a reason. There's a time, when you listen to them, you think, oh, I want that, that's fantastic, and then sometimes that gets on the shelf and doesn't come out for a while, and it's sad. So you get to a point when you've got 10,000 records, you're never going to listen to those in your life. So yeah, 12 to 1,500. I buy a lot of jazz, and I buy a lot of folk and blues and things like that, and that's what I buy the most of. And I buy soundtracks, strangely. I buy a lot of soundtracks, and oddly, as I say, I'm not a collector. Soundtracks are one of the things that I buy, sometimes not just for the music, because I love the movie, and I'll buy the soundtrack as long as it's old, and I'll buy it for the cover or something like that. And so I mean, I've got a good hip-hop collection. I wouldn't say I've got in any way a great hip-hop collection. I like a lot of hip-hop, but there's certain types of hip-hop that I like. I'm not. Chris is a fantastic collection of hip-hop. Me, I buy what I like now and again, but I don't go out of the way to buy an awful lot of it. So the stuff I buy that's new, I tend to buy a lot of smaller artists that are out there these days. Small only in the size of the pressings that they put out and things like that. But the great hip hop these days, I think, is being made by smaller artists. You know, the artists that are putting out 500 pressings or a few thousand pressings and things like that. You know, so yeah, people always associate me with hip hop, but I'm not a big hip hop collector. My girlfriend, I live with my girlfriend. I've lived with her for quite a few years now. At first, I think, yeah, we lived in a small flat, and I had one of those big IKEA units. And when I moved in, the records kept coming in as I slowly moved them from where I was. And then I realised that it wasn't wise to bring everything there, because it was our design statement in the flat was becoming records, and you know, you got to compromise a bit. Then when we moved into this house, she's cool. I mean, we have a couple of spare rooms, and I decided one was going to be where I played guitar or put my records on and put my records in. And she went out and bought the furniture. She bought an IKEA unit and an IKEA unit and a desk. So she is cool, man. She's really good. I started to buy her records as a tip for all you guys out there. She's at that age where she never had records. She only had CDs. And so now and again I go out and I'll see something that I think she'll like. And now in the corner down there, she's got her own tiny little record collection just started. And it's nice, because now I think she relates to why I like vinyl, and you know, how it's so much more personal and different to a CD or an MP3, and I think she understands it now. So she's really cool. The rest of my family, they're fine, they love it, they have records of their life, so they're cool. And the people at work, I think I'm odd. You know, the brown packages arrive from Discogs or wherever all the time, and they're like, you know, why is he wasting all his money on vinyl? And they just download music, but you know, each their own. I think they think I'm a weirdo, but not just for that, probably. I went to the Wembley Record Fair once, and it was a huge record fair in Wembley Conference Centre. I'd been there all day, and I did what I don't usually do. I bought records because I thought they'd be worth something at some point. And they were, you know, they were expensive records, but I hadn't really got anything that I wanted that day, so I was a bit disappointed. And it was about 12 years ago, and I heard this song right at the end of the day. And I heard this song. It was like it was a reggae version of "If You're Not Back in Love" by Monday, and I think Millie Jackson did the original, and I think Sonia Brown did this version. I can't remember. So I followed it through the whole record fair, slowly looking for it and looking for the stall. And I turned up at the stall, and there's this gorgeous woman selling records, and it was her song. And she just looked at me and said, "Yeah, it's good, isn't it?" And that was it. That's all she said. And it was like, what? It was like that bit out of High Fidelity. I'll sell this record, you watch. And I bought it. It cost me a tenner, and I've never seen it again. And I bought it and tried my luck with the lady, and never got the lady. She was stunning. So, but I got a great record, which was more important now, because I've got a much better girlfriend. Highway 61 by Bob Dylan. One of the greatest albums ever made, in my opinion. Ballad of a Thin Man is probably one of his top 5 pieces of work. It's just a great bit of writing, so cutting, so clever. It's just a genius album, and I literally do play this every week, you know, every week, easily probably twice a week. Sometimes when I get up in the morning getting ready for work, this is on, because it's just a great album. I don't tire of it ever. This, Blonde and Blonde, Blood and the Tracks, they're considered the greats because they are great, you know. Sometimes things live up to the hype. And Jimmy Smith, the Cat, Jimmy Smith and Lego Schifrin, what a pairing, man, what a pairing. Great album. You don't own this, it's amazingly cheap for such a great album. Go out and buy it, it's everywhere. It was a popular album, but buy it. It is just packed with great tracks. It's a brilliant introduction to Jimmy Smith, and a brilliant album. Yeah, they're the two. I collect records because of probably the same reason most people do. I want something tangible. You know, I want they're beautiful. They're a piece of artwork, and a CD doesn't cut it. I don't even get me started on MP3s, but a CD doesn't cut it. I have loads of CDs, and I buy some music on CD to have in the car, or to, you know, just because of the convenience I have at the office, but I don't download music, you know, ever, and the odd track here and there, but it just feels like a nothingness. I don't think you can compare it. I can go out to a charity shop and buy an album for £1 or £2, and I can burn that, you know, and I've got the piece of artwork and I've got the music, and it sounds better. It just does, and I don't think there's an argument there. You know, it's the reality of it, and it looks better, and it's personal. So yeah, that's exactly why, and I'll never stop. And I think that you'll see people. This isn't. I don't intend to sell my collection, so it's not trying to punt it. But you'll see people now more and more when they've got their stuff on a little box and they've got all their films or their music on one iPad or whatever. They'll lose it. They'll be heartbroken, and they'll realise there's something soulless about that, you know, and there's something soulful about having a record collection, you know. So yeah, there you go. That's why.